I'm back again with another pretty heavy one today, but I haven't meant for all my videos so far to be so political and kind of heavy hitting, but it's just things that have been weighing on my heart, so I wanted to talk about them, and today is unfortunately no exception. Today we're going to talk about the paradox of tolerance, the media, and of course, Charlie Kirk. Now, obviously, so far, the topics I've kind of been talking about have been about America and American society, American culture, and that's because I am American and I love America. I was born there, I plan to die there. But I'm gonna let you in on a little something actually today. I actually am currently living in Denmark. Yep, I married a Dane. So here in Denmark, they kind of have what they consider to be a compromise culture. And there's a common belief, if you will, that they call det gode liv, meaning the good life. It's sort of similar to the American dream. Danes believe that respecting one another, respecting your neighbors, respecting the people around you is the same as respecting yourself. And this is how they maintain such high social welfare standards in their society. They do pay a slightly higher tax rate to afford this kind of life and this kind of culture. But it's really not that much higher if you compare the average. People love to compare the highest tax bracket with each other, and that's just not true. You have to make so much money to be in the highest tax bracket in America or Denmark. But the difference is that they can see what their taxes are affording them in real time, whereas in the US, it feels like you have to elect a Zoran Mamdani just to get potholes filled. Knowing that their taxes provide this good life for them and the people around them is a price worth paying in the eyes of Danish people. Despite the scary democratic socialism in Denmark, they still have the right to free speech and to have their own opinions. If you have a belief that you feel isn't represented in the Danish government or on their, political landscape, you can even create your own political party, assuming you have enough people that agree with you. Denmark has 12 active political parties in just Denmark alone. And like I said, if there's no party you really align with and you want to start a new one, you can, assuming you have a base of supporters to start with. So why wouldn't a MAGA movement succeed in Denmark? If the beliefs you're trying to form a political movement or political party around seem a little too far out, you're not going to have enough support to have a real voice in the government or have enough voice to really make a difference. If somebody tried to start a MAGA movement in Denmark, most Danes wouldn't really consider you to be a normal civil adult that's able to sit at the table and have a real adult conversation. If they don't think you have everyone's best interest in mind, then they don't really want to hear it. They know that they need grown-ups sitting at the table when they write laws and make big decisions for their society. Now, when I say a grown-up this way, I mean somebody who cares about a stranger they've never met before. I mean somebody who respects people the way that they want to be respected in return. Somebody who wants to leave the world better than they found it, and that the rights of society can't be defined by what race you are, what religion you belong to, or what lifestyle you live. The US is lethally low on grown-ups in the government right now, but fortunately there are more and more who are getting louder in the mainstream. I'm probably going to end up doing this in every video like this, but disclaimer. When I've tried to have these conversations before, often the response that I get is, "You're not even living in the US right now, so it has nothing to do with you." Or, "If Denmark's so great, then you should stay there." And of course, the classic, "You just hate America." As great as Denmark is, I never ever would have dreamed of coming here and living here if I just hadn't happened to fall in love with someone from here. So it's really just besides the point. I do really think America is the most beautiful country in the world, and I love it, and even now I miss it, and I know I'm going to be back, so it's fine. But yeah, America is such a beautiful, wonderful place, and I've always appreciated that America is a nation of immigrants. I got to grow up in this really interesting society that was influenced by so many other cultures, and when I was a kid, I thought that was really exciting. I grew up hearing different languages. I learned Spanish as my second language, and it's a very useful skill to have in America and beyond. I developed taste for different cuisines, and I got to see traditions in families that were from different countries and different heritages than mine. America's certainly never been perfect, but I see a lot of options to be able to make it a more fair and opportunistic place for anyone that wants to diligently and honestly chase their dreams. All right, end of disclaimer. Americans love to tout the First Amendment as like their birthright to say anything and everything. And just as a refresher, the First Amendment says the U.S. government cannot interfere with people expressing their freedom of speech, religion, freedom, right to assemble, and the right to ask the government for legal changes. The whole Bill of Rights covers anyone on U.S. soil. It doesn't actually matter if they're citizens or not. Little known fact. But it's also important to note here that this only protects you from the government coming after you for your freedom of speech. If you make up lies or like slander an individual, a company, break the code of conduct of your university, break the rules of a social media platform, they can still enter legal action against you. Obviously on the internet these days, it's an everyday thing to see obnoxious trolls voicing their opinions. Opinions, it could just be, a lot of the times now it's just rage bait. But it's become an unalienable right to be sexist, misogynistic, racist, bigoted, and it's pretty hard to ignore, but again, this is by design. It's free, it's common, it's available, and unfortunately, pissing people off this way only fuels the egos of these tiny PP keyboard warriors. The paradox of tolerance was an idea coined by the philosopher Karl Popper in the end days of World War II in his book, The Open Society and Its Enemies. The concept of the paradox is that if society is accepting of intolerant people, of intolerant ideas, then everyone else who is tolerant, belongs to a tolerant society, is risking letting them take over. When the intolerance inevitably does take over, they force their intolerant ideas on the rest of us. As time goes on, the principles of freedom, democracy are slowly lost for everybody. Authoritarianism isn't far behind. If you're still a little confused, let's read it and explain it like I'm 5 version. If you and your friends agree that you will always be nice to each other, no matter what you do, then everybody gets along at first. Then Billy starts being really mean at sleepovers. He takes toys, he says really mean things, pushes people off the couch when you watch movies, and does other mean things. Billy keeps doing this because you're being super nice to him, and you keep inviting him to sleepovers. You have to tell Billy to stop, or he doesn't get invited to more sleepovers, because he makes it bad for everybody else. If you keep being nice to Billy and inviting him, not telling him to stop, he's only going to keep making sleepovers bad. Sometimes you have to tell mean people that they're not allowed to be your friend, even if you really, really want to be nice to everyone. Obviously, this is where it becomes a paradox. How do we get to have free speech while also preventing its gradual demise? Should we be free to be racist, to be bigoted, to be just mean to groups of other people? Should we be free to be extremist about any of our beliefs? I mostly side on no, sticks and stones and all that, but repeated hateful rhetoric correlates with an increase in hate crimes. I'm sorry, it's been studied and it's proven. But I'll still say this is really, really a complex topic, because how do we decide where the line is between tolerable and intolerable? This also isn't me saying that, like, if you've ever left a hateful comment, if you've ever said one racist thing in your life, that you should be in prison or something. Rather, people who consistently promote hateful ideas, ideologies, who refuse to engage in rational debates, and ignore scientific evidence should be stopped from spreading intolerance.
Do you think there's a problem with misinformation out there?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Some people believe in things that are just not true?
Absolutely. 100%.
And where do you think Obama was born?
Kenya.
Case in point there.
Karl Popper says, we should claim the right to suppress intolerant ideologies, if necessary even by force, for it may easily turn out that they are not prepared to meet us on the level of rational argument, but begin by denouncing all argument. They may forbid their followers to listen to rational argument, because it's deceptive, teach them to answer arguments by the use of their fists or pistols. The concept of free speech is different in America than it is in Western Europe. In the US, the only time you'll have the government coming after you because of something you said is when you admit to doing something illegal or you provoke others to do some criminal act. Well, that's how it's supposed to go anyways. Western Europe doesn't tolerate bigoted ideas because it disrupts the tolerant social order. For instance, in Germany, if you are in public and you Sieg Heil, you wear a swastika, or you go on a bullhorn or something and say that you think the Holocaust was a lie, you will be subjected to criminal charges that come with fines and possibly even prison time. Now, are there still neo-Nazis in Germany? Yes. There's always crazies everywhere. But they have a lot less structure now. They can connect on the internet, but they have to hide what they're doing. They have to change their names very often. They have to cover their own tracks to avoid the consequences of their actions. So it's just a little harder to keep a group of people connected like that as it would be if it was just, dog Reddit, subreddit or something. Reminds me of a certain je ne sais quoi. So do Germans really have free speech if they can't wear a swastika or Sieg Heil out on the street? Some Americans would probably say no. But I think if you ask most Germans, they would say they don't mind it. These limits on free speech makes their society more secure and more peaceful. So why don't Americans value this benefit of a more peaceful and secure society where we build each other up to the benefit of everybody? Why does it seem like Americans have this compulsive need to use their free speech to spread hateful things and be intolerant? Another very complicated question, but a simple answer is it makes for good TV. First things first, I absolutely loathe the whole two-party system in America because it turns it into this thing of like left versus right, blue versus red. Because politics exists on a spectrum. It's not like the NFL where you have like a rivalry. America is simply too big and complex to be governed by a binary political system, point blank period. As with most industries in late-stage American capitalism, the mass media that we rely on for information have become monopolized by corporations and wealthy elite. This limits the true freedom of the press because the bigwigs in charge make a lot of editorial decisions about what they want to be reported, how they want it to be reported, what they want people to know or not know, and it's always done with a lot of intention. Fox News, for example, was created specifically for the market of conservative viewers, which is why its reporting skews conservative, right? Speaking of Fox News, highly recommend the Murdoch Dynasty docuseries on Netflix about the Murdoch family. Very interesting. We're witnessing it right now with Barry Weiss's editorial takeover of CBS. And I've also been seeing so many like repetitive opinion pieces in especially the Washington Post, grasping at straws, trying to tell people that condemning Israel's actions against Palestinians are somehow anti-Semitic. Again, neither here nor there. All throughout media history, journalists have been fired and blacklisted for writing honest exposés about prominent figures or even allies. Again, Israel being an example. But I'd say that the most effective influencers on news media and public perception these days are the talking head analysts, both online and on major news networks. These kind of pundits have, really prominent, recognizable personalities or faces. They have name recognition, and they carry kind of like an air of authority, like that makes people just trust in what they're saying. But their arguments shouldn't immediately be accepted as fact. Their reporting depends on a lot of rhetorical strategies and at times just straight up made up information used to strengthen their narrative. Freedom of speech comes with the freedom to misinform, and some of these misinformers built empires around hate and lies. Among these, of course, is Charlie Kirk. Now listen, I'm so tired of talking about Charlie, and I'm sure a lot of other people are too. He was a dumbass hate monger, but obviously this isn't me saying that he deserved what happened to him, right? I wouldn't argue that it was just or fair by any means, but also he doesn't deserve this martyrdom that he's found either. But I'm gonna make this one video one time about him so that I can just put it to bed for the rest of my life, but I just had to say some things about him because I'm still mad about all the outrage in the aftermath of his death expressed online. I've really never seen anything like it before. It was really jarring and very weird.
I've never been so pissed in my whole life. And this murder Charlie Kirk right here in Utah. I'm so freaking pissed right now. This is bullshit. I just saw blood squirting out of his neck. I love that guy. He would have been our next president. I am so pissed right now.
Dude, like seeing a grown man cry like that, dude, is crazy. I'm sorry. Like that's okay. That's one. That video will never get old. I'm sorry. When I posted some of his own quotes on my Instagram story after he died, not at all teasing or like making fun of the situation or saying like, haha, he died. I was just trying to point out some of the double standards that were going on in that moment. But the way people were treating me and talking to me after, like you would have thought that I killed him. Charlie built TPUSA up on a web of fallacies and just, again, straight up misinformation. And he just depended on having strong debate skills to try to make other people look stupid when they talk to him. His most insane quotes range from COVID misinformation, queer and transphobia, limiting women's rights, racism, misinformation about immigration, even calling George Floyd a scumbag after he was killed by a cop, dude. This one, maybe I'm going to hell a little bit for, but it's just too nuts not to read. but it says Trump ally Charlie Kirk suggests children should watch public executions. Well, it was a fun trick, but he could only do it once. By the way, I checked that, and he really did say that, but I digress. Just one example of a straight-up lie he used to try to fool a debate opponent was quoted in a Danish public media article about his death last September. Quote, "What does fetus mean in Latin?" The question was asked by Charlie Kirk in a debate with a student. "It means little person," Kirk answers himself, thus putting the abortion debate to rest. He can't help but smile, a diabolical smile. It doesn't matter that it doesn't fit. Fetus in Latin, that is, fetus, I don't know how you would say that in Latin, fetus, I don't know, but, same root in Latin, does not mean little person, but rather to give birth. Kirk's argument has been viewed over 50 million times on social media.
Well, first of all, it's not a baby, it's a fetus.
Well, what does fetus mean?
A fetus is in utero.
What does fetus mean in Latin?
What the f***? I'm sorry, is this a language class?
It means little human being.
Ooh, his smile is very creepy. Okay.
So many people saw him saying these things, and obviously if you're of the pro-life persuasion, then you probably thought, hell yeah, he owned that land, and didn't give it a second thought. This is really, really dangerous and extremely harmful, and just a terrible basis to base your own worldview and your own beliefs on. It doesn't have any real foundation to stand on when you examine just a little bit closer. That being said, if a political argument appeals to your emotions or your fear, you should be questioning that. Appeals to emotion and fear are very effective in building an empire like TPUSA and to push the Overton window over to the right little by little. Once you're riled up about identity politics and all the dangerous things your kids are learning at school, you won't notice that they're just playing you, they're just manipulating you. You're too distracted to notice that the American government has left your ass in the dust. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. All the while, the taxes that you pay for the privilege of being a citizen are used to buy bombs that kill random civilians and kids across the world. America's already reached a pretty crucial point in this whole plot, and it's pretty inevitable, I think, that people will kind of recognize the disconnect more and more as time goes on from here.
If you could say something to President Trump and he was going to hear you right now, what would it be?
You're a worthless pile of
And you voted for him how many times?
3 times. That was my bad. Apparently, I'm an idiot.
It's really just all about control, right? They want to amass unchecked wealth. They want you to fight for your basic necessities. They want to pay you less and less and less until they own everything, including the legal system that should be keeping them in check. They're a selfish elite, and they don't really care to add new members to their team. Even if you've been there since day one supporting whatever movement it is, especially I would say MAGA is a great example of this, they won't spare you in your time of need just because you've been there. They'll take every last thing from you and demand you keep meeting this moving goalpost agenda that they have for their empire of intolerance. Now, like I said before, did Charlie Kirk deserve to die the way he did? Absolutely not. Of course not. Gun violence is always senseless. But acting like he was some sort of brave civil servant that was fighting for true American values is misguided at best. Charlie was an effective propagandist. He did what he did to mobilize masses, and especially young men, as we see from him going to college campuses all over the country, towards intolerance, and he did so by dehumanizing his opponents. He promoted violent things on his humongous platform that he had. He made a ton of money exploiting people's emotions. And even still, his wife, the portrayal of a traditional all-American woman, oh wait, my bad, this one, won't disappear from our fucking news feeds and is now running his company instead of staying at home with her fatherless kids. I just want to go find Girl, just go home. Nobody is stopping you. What do you mean? I think she actually doesn't want to go stay at home because TPUSA is making a fuck ton of money in the wake of his death. And little Mrs. Erica America can't get enough. I even saw, like, on my own news feed, like, somebody that I knew that went to his memorial thing at a stadium in Arizona or whatever. They had these little collectible lanyard badge things, and they made memorial merch that they sold. whatever, it's your husband's death, do what you want, I guess. If that's how you deal with death, go off, queen. But to me, it's just so clearly a grift. Like, all the merch and money in the world isn't going to bring Charlie back, obviously. As has been discussed a lot since he died, he famously said something about, like, you know, some gun deaths are the cost of having gun rights in America. And yet so much respect was demanded in the wake of his death. There was also that Starbucks trend where, like, people were going to Starbucks to, like, order Charlie's favorite drink order. And if the barista asked their name, they would, like, order it under Charlie Kirk.
We are Charlie Kirk!
And people were, like, so worked up when I've only seen one video, but this video went viral of a barista refusing at a Starbucks location in California.
What was the name for the order? Or actually, you need a name.
The name is Charlie Kirk.
We can't do political names, but it didn't even ask for a name to begin with, so it's going to be $3.75, okay?
Oh, but can you write the name on the cup?
The sticker won't print.
Oh, you can't write on it?
I could, but I could write Charlie.
Why can't you write the whole name?
Because it's political.
Political?
Yes, yeah. Let me start your recipe, okay?
And Starbucks, woke as they are, good old woke Starbucks, immediately rolled over and said, yeah, you can have your name as Charlie Kirk. I'm telling you, it was just so shocking and weird. Like, I was questioning my own sanity for like a week after he died. My parents live in Utah, and I was actually there visiting them the week that he died. I couldn't believe that like 90% of the flags you saw around their area were actually at half-mast. Like, what? Don't we do that for like elected officials and civil servants? This was one of the quotes I put on my Instagram story after he died. And I lost like 40 or 50 followers on Instagram, which not that matters, but I was just shocked it was that many. I mean, was I lying? Before my husband and I lived in Denmark together, we actually lived a year in Ireland too, and that's another story for another day. But a relative even texted me and told me I should go back to Ireland and said, I'll remember this when your favorite lib is murdered. Why? I thought I was going genuinely crazy. I thought I was losing my marbles. If you see any irony in this, you know the call is coming from inside the house. It's selective outrage and it's performative outrage. And honestly, it was pretty disheartening to see like people that I had known for years and years blocking me, telling me I'm a terrible person. When none of the posts that I made were like, yeah, making fun of the situation, making light of the situation. I was just literally just trying to point out the irony. You might have seen this video that went viral. It's from a sermon from a Baptist pastor named Howard John Wesley the Sunday after Charlie died.
Charlie Kirk did not deserve to be assassinated. But I'm overwhelmed seeing the flags of the United States of America at half-staff calling this nation to honor and venerate a man who was an unapologetic racist and spent all of his life sowing seeds of division and hate into this land. And hearing people with selective rage who are mad about Charlie Kirk but didn't give a damn about Melissa Hortman and her husband when they were shot down in their home, tell me I ought to have compassion for the death of a man who had no respect for celebrate how you chose to live.
How you died does not redeem how you lived. I can abhor the violence that took your life, but I don't have to celebrate how you chose to live. That just hits the nail on the head in my opinion. And that's how I felt from the jump. But yeah, the internet had me questioning my own sanity for a full week or so before I was able to like reassure myself that I'm a good person and I trust that I know good things and I'm not full of hate and spewing hate everywhere. So if that was you at that time, sincerely, fuck you. To the people who unfollowed me because I posted these beliefs or whatever, good riddance. It's probably better that you're not there anyways. Not necessarily like the people who unfollowed me on Instagram, but like people of this persuasion, people who were so worked up about this. Weren't you posting these really terrible, hateful jokes like when Melissa Hortman and her husband were killed, when Paul Pelosi was attacked in his home? And even just the fact that like somebody somewhere, I don't actually know the full story if it was like an anonymous tip or something, but somebody called CPS on Pete Buttigieg and his husband. Like, it's just sick, and it's a double standard. Seeing this kind of behavior just immediately lets me know that you're not someone who's capable of having a rational discussion, and that we can't talk together about important things, important issues on the basis of valuing truth and kindness. So I'm not really holding faith that Trump or anybody around him are going to admit to any kind of wrongdoing for the rest of their natural lives, and that sucks, but whatever. At least in Trump's case, I know that he's not far from exiting this plane of existence, so I can live with that. I also don't think anyone that he's hired into the government are gonna, just all of a sudden start working with the Democrats across the aisle to try to fix some problems and try to build a more tolerant society. But these things really do start from within, meaning us, the masses. I do think there's like a lot more people right now that are seeing Trump using the Constitution to fucking wipe his asshole and disregarding the freedoms that America was founded on. Not to mention the Epstein files. But if we can at least agree to a point that we want to tell the government, enough is enough. We're gonna win this fight, dude. The only way to get rid of intolerance is to not tolerate it. And I do think it is kind of funny that like the Epstein files is the most uniting issue, the most uniting force in America, it seems to me right now. Like that's where some people draw the line is funny, but that's fine, I'll take it. And yeah, we're never gonna stop talking about the Epstein files. And earlier, that thing I said about grown-ups, we need grown-ups to write and enforce the rules of society. Like in terms of age or anything, like the day you die is the only limit you have on being able to mature or grow or learn from your mistakes. There's always hope that you can do better, no matter how many mistakes you've made in your life. You can reset and reinvent yourself an unlimited amount of times in this life. To mature and to admit that you made a mistake is a really brave thing and a really honorable thing. It does take guts to stand up for yourself and others when you see a situation that is unjust. To be a free individual in a safe and democratic society requires a moral compass that doesn't want to harm or take anything away from anybody else and expects the same for yourself in return. Just like that tolerant order they have in Denmark, Germany, Western Europe, etc. Being mature is knowing that you don't get to choose how everyone else lives their life. Point blank, period. It takes real guts to be a grown-up, but it sure as hell beats being a fucking coward. It takes guts to say honestly that you don't have all the answers, but there's always going to be people in this world trying to convince you that they do. Even though it probably feels, harder than I'm 28. That's not a super long life I've had yet, but this is the craziest times I'm witnessing, so it feels harder than ever. But be courageous out of spite. Be kind out of spite. Don't tolerate intolerance. Develop your own opinions based on things that you know are true facts. And stand up for what you believe is right. Stick it to the man by loving your neighbor, loving your life, and loving the society that you live in. I really hope you got something out of this one today. Like I said, I know Charlie Kirk is still a pretty touchy subject, but I just wanted to get this out and have it out of my system. Feel like it will help me in the long run. If you enjoyed this, I'm a baby YouTuber. I'm still single digit subscribers last time I checked this morning. I would greatly appreciate if you want to like, comment, subscribe, interact with my stuff, just so, you know, somebody else can see it and hopefully it can be a resource for them, or even just start new thoughts for people. That's all I really want to do with these videos. Down the line, I want to make my channel a little more like silly and lighthearted, but again, these things have just been so on my mind given my life and my circumstances with a foreign spouse. So go do something nice for yourself today. Shake that burden loose off your back. And always remember the Epstein files. Well, that, but also always remember it's nice to be cool, but it's cool to be nice.